Andy here, and today I have for you the most popular book of 2022, the most popular horror book. So last year in December, I read the most popular book of 2022 altogether, and then this month I read the most popular horror book. So this was voted the Goodreads Choice Awards of 2022 in the category of horror. There are a lot of books that were in the running. I'll leave that link down below so you guys can look at all the books if you are interested. But this is the winner. So this is called Hidden Pictures by Jason. Actually, let me look at his Instagram because he says how to pronounce his last name, I think. Rekulik. Jason Rekulik. And this is his book called Hidden Pictures. So today I thought we would do a little bit of a deep dive surrounding this guy. I'm not going to give anything away, so don't worry about that. I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis, how I feel about it, and then talk about how it's rated on Goodreads versus my rating. So first of all, this is the book. I got it. I had no idea what it was about. I didn't read anything. I just saw that it was the 2022 Goodreads Choice Award for the best horror book. So I was like, gotta pick it up and read it. Just first impressions, I really loved the cover. I really loved that there are hidden pictures in the title, Hidden Pictures. I thought that was really cute. I like, this is kind of weird, but I like that the L in novel is backwards. I don't know why, but I just thought that that was cool. I also feel like it relates to the kid, the adolescent aspect of the book as well. And yeah, I don't know, I just thought that it was a unique cover. There's a little guy perhaps bearing something on the cover, I don't know. So I thought that this was a book that was maybe more grounded in reality, which it's not, and we'll get to that in a second. I don't want to read it. I think I'm just going to put it into my own words, but don't worry, I'm not going to give anything away. But basically the story is about a young girl named Mallory. She has recently gone through rehab, and so she's a recovering addict, and she gets hired on as a nanny for a pretty well-off, like privileged family in a really nice community. She begins watching a young boy named Teddy. He's just going into kindergarten, so he's like, what, 5? I don't know anything about kids, but probably somewhere around 5. They hit it off really well. He's like a very smart, fun, witty kid, and they become close pretty quickly. And she soon finds that Teddy has an imaginary friend named Anya. Okay. So Mallory is sleeping in the guest house out back, and she soon finds that there was a young woman who lived there quite a while back, I can't remember exactly when, who mysteriously disappears. So Mallory comes to the conclusion that it is, I don't want to give too much away. Yeah, okay, well, I guess this says it here. So basically, Mallory is convinced that it is this woman who has disappeared, that she was murdered, and she is haunting Teddy and trying to show him her life through pictures. That's kind of the basis of the story. So the first thing that I love about this book is the pictures. There are pictures throughout. I won't give anything away, don't worry. But this is just an example of a picture thrown in the book. It's a picture that Teddy drew. This one is of a goat, and there's nothing, abnormal about it. But as the story progresses, the pictures do get a little bit creepy and strange and interesting, and then they kind of transform about halfway through. So the book kind of starts off like one of those movies where you're like, oh, the kid's gonna be creepy and gonna say and do creepy things, and it kind of gives you the chills a few times when you see these pictures. But then the story really changes from there, and it's not at all what I expected it to be. So first, before I say anything, know that this has crazy good ratings on Goodreads. This has, I think it's like a 4.5. A 4.2, which is fantastic for a horror book, for any book really, a 4.2, and it has 73,000 ratings on it. So people love this book. It's safe to say, I mean, it was voted in the best book by the audience, so people love this story. What I'm trying to say is, like, I don't want, just because I don't love a book, I don't want people to not pick it up or not read it because of the things that I said. So just keep in mind that people love this book, and I'm gonna try to tell you the reasons why I enjoyed it, and then some issues that I had with it without being too specific. So the things I liked about it are the pictures. I thought that that was such an original concept for a horror book, and I thought that it was a really interesting kind of different take on like a little kid that sees ghosts kind of story. I also enjoyed the way that it was written. I liked the characters and I liked the ease of the read. I just thought that it was easy to read. It flowed really well. It's basically just like a day in the life of Mallory. She just takes you through her days and you go along with her and see all the things that her and Teddy do. And I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed the characters. I thought everybody was interesting to read about. And it did keep me engaged the whole time. Not gonna lie, it did keep me engaged. I thought it was an interesting story. And if he comes out with other books, I will absolutely read those because I did enjoy reading this. But there were a few things in here that caught me off guard that I wasn't really surprised on, because especially a book that has a 4.2, usually books like that are like universally loved. And so I was kind of surprised that I didn't love this book as much as I thought that I would based off the ratings. And it just goes to show that, you know, you can't really look at someone else's opinion for how you're going to feel about something like art. It's subjective and everybody feels a different way about it. Where do I begin? Okay, it's a horror book. So there's obviously a bad guy. We'll just say it's a bad guy, okay? Because it's horror, right? Like that, I don't think I'm giving anything away that there has to be a bad guy in the book. So what I will say is that I felt like the character arcs with the characters were too drastic. It just seemed too night and day. It just didn't make sense for me that the characters would start this way and end that way. That's what I will say. I know it's super vague, but I really don't want to give anything away for you guys, especially if you guys want to read this book, considering it was the best horror book of 2022. Another thing I will say is I understand going into horror, you have to have some sort of suspension of disbelief when you're reading, especially something that focuses on potentially supernatural things like ghosts. However, I think that there's a fine line for me as a reader where I'm okay with a suspension of disbelief, and then above that, I fall out of the story because I have to suspend my disbelief so much that it just doesn't seem realistic. And I think that had to do with the ghost. It was kind of interesting that Mallory, like usually in horror books, you see evidence of something that's weird. Oh, the kid's talking to an imaginary friend. Okay, well, they just moved. They're, starting school. There's a lot of changes going on. Maybe it has some basis in, in their imagination. It makes sense for them on like a child development level or what have you. And then you kind of go through the movie and like a little bit of weird stuff happens, more weird stuff happens, and then you get to the point where you can't deny that something strange is going on. However, in this book, Mallory instantly is like, your child doesn't have an imaginary friend. That's the ghost of the girl who died. And it just seems like such a drastic jump to me. And it seems unreasonable that the characters in the story, that is the only conclusion that they can come to, at least up until that breaking point of where it's undeniable that something odd is going on. I kind of would have liked it more had she come to Crossroads and been like, oh, it's maybe different than what I thought. I hope that makes sense. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I felt like there was just a crazy suspension of disbelief that had to occur when connecting to all of the characters. And although I liked them as people and I did enjoy the story, I was a little confused how they jumped so drastically from thing to thing and just like overall accepted what was happening. You do have to have a crazy suspension of disbelief, and some people can do that. Some people really love stories where there's like magical turtles. People love those. I'm just not one of those people. So keep that in mind when going into this book, that you just have to go along for the ride. But those are the two, I think, biggest concerns I had with the story, or questions, or just comments, I guess, on what was going on. But otherwise, I did enjoy it. This had a 4.2 on Goodreads, but I wouldn't give it a 4.2. I don't even think I'd give it a 4 stars. I think like a solid 3.5, not even 3.75, because I rated another book this month a 3.5, and I definitely did like this one more. So I will say a 3.75 I would give this one. So it's not a bad read by any means, but I think that it is more to the taste of the reader, which is interesting for a book that was rated the best book and has such a high rating. So yeah, pretty interesting. Not what I expected at all from a book that was rated the best horror book of 2022. However, I really enjoyed the unique aspects of the book. I will absolutely read more from this writer if they do come out with more work. I think he actually published a book before this, that I haven't read either, but I think this one had higher ratings even than that one did. I could be wrong, but I guess I could just look at his Goodreads. He has some illustrated kids books, it looks like. There's one other book called The Impossible Fortress, but this also kind of looks like a kid's book as well. Romance and coming of age story. So I think from the looks of it that this is his first horror book that he's written, which is very impressive that this is somebody's first horror book and it won the best horror award as well as got such high ratings. So yeah, let me know, have you guys read this? How does this sound to you? Are you interested in it? Are you intrigued because it was rated the best book? I don't know, let me know. Will you guys give this a read? Have you given it a read? Let me know if this video helped you at all, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another horror video. Bye guys.